Boo. Welcome to Night Talk on this splendid and beautiful, sunny UK Thursday evening. Perfect. Fabulous. Let me do some technical stuff in the background. That should be it. And now we're ready to go. We're ready to go. Are we not? Yes, we are. Let's just see on TikTok here if everything smoothly. Perfect. So that's it. And fabulous. We are live. What's that? 1 minute in? Fabulous. Can you hear me all right? Yeah, it's 1 minute and a half. Perfect. We'll cut that out later. And we'll get right to it. Straight into it. Right. Fabulous. Welcome to Night Talk. This episode is all about power prospecting on LinkedIn. Why do we call it power prospecting? Well, because it's got some twist to it. It's not your conventional LinkedIn prospecting. I'm really excited to talk you through that tonight. If you have any questions, please type it in the comments below, and then at the end we'll have a Q&A. I'm getting into the nitty-gritty details of things, so just for your information, this could take us longer than 1 hour, but it's going to be jam-packed with actionable tips, insights, an action plan, everything that you can take with you and apply the next day, apply it tomorrow on your LinkedIn. Without further ado, let me get that presentation up here. No, the other way around. Perfect. So what we're talking about today is how can we prospect on LinkedIn in a very serious way that can generate us more leads, better leads, but we don't want to put in any money into ads or any budget at all, right? So how can we do that? Let me just go here and get rid of this one here. We don't need that. And also we don't need that. I think that's better. Right. Power prospecting on LinkedIn. If you would like to see and watch the replay of this live stream, no problem. Go to honeycombagency.co.uk/replays. Put your email in there and we're going to send you the replay. So what do we want to learn today? Well, hopefully, there are some takeaways that you'll learn today. Number one is to identify your ICP, connect with your ICP, and initiate a conversation with your ICP, right? So the three headlines: identify, connect, and initiate. And we're going to break it down to the easiest way possible and the most effective and productive way possible. So you can take that. Tomorrow is Friday, maybe not the best day to prospect and get in touch, but definitely, over the weekend or on Monday, just, plain and simple. Just move along with it and give it a try on your side. So identify, connect, and initiate a conversation. The outcomes that I would love you to have by the end of this night talk is how you can generate highly qualified leads, how you can generate a predictable flow of leads, how you can fill your sales pipeline with the right leads and not just random leads, and also how you can close faster. That is something, again, we want to fill the pipeline and close the pipeline. Closing the pipeline, we do that with the probing sales framework. So we're not going to talk about that tonight that much. Tonight, I'm going to focus to show you how you can prospect on LinkedIn better and get better and faster results. So here's a little bit of the agenda that we are going through today. So we start with identifying and finding your ideal customers, your ICP. Then you'll hear about the 10-10-10 rule of our sales activity. In part 3, you will see how you can go from a cold call to a warm outreach. And ultimately, in part 4, we're going to look through some examples and templates that you can use. Be careful with templates, don't copy it one-to-one, but I will talk you through the value proposition question design, how you can do that, how you can design a question with value proposition and add that into your prospecting activities as well. So that's the last part that we're going through. Again, we fill the pipeline, we close the pipeline, and we focus on filling the pipeline on LinkedIn tonight. What's holding most people back from being really successful on LinkedIn? A couple of things, and it's a pattern, right? So once you have identified that pattern and maybe see some points in your behavior, in how you use LinkedIn, it's very easy to just change that and adjust that and correct that. Most people have absolutely no strategy of what they're doing on LinkedIn, how they prospect on social media. They have no plan, and ultimately they do not execute on a plan and a strategy, right? Most people that I see who are not getting the results from LinkedIn as they should be getting is they have sporadic activities on LinkedIn. So they're not consistent on LinkedIn every day. Some of them are afraid to ask, and that's part of sales. Some of them are just afraid to pop a question, to get into a DM and ask for help, ask for clarification, ask for a chat, ask for an email address, whatever it is that we're afraid of. A lot of activity is focused also on marketing and content rather than sales. And that's fine. We need marketing, we need content, but also let's not forget sales. Sales is a big part of making money, getting that revenue in, of getting that bottom line right, of getting our product and services in front of the right people. That has to do with sales as much as it has to do with marketing and content. Content is a long-term strategy, right? If we want to get more active, more proactive, while being on the ethical side of sales, we have to do something different than just focus on marketing and content. And also a lot of people that I see who are not getting the results from LinkedIn that they should be getting, they underestimate the power of LinkedIn. It's like, oh yeah, it's just another social network. The posts are getting boring. It's now turning into Facebook. I mean, fair enough. Yeah, but if you underestimate the power of LinkedIn as a professional network, as opposed to entertaining networks like Facebook, like TikTok, like Instagram, that are focused more on the entertaining side, but LinkedIn is really focused on the professional side, on the business side of it. So let's not underestimate the power that we have in the LinkedIn universe. So these are just a couple of things that I noticed over the years why people are not successful. And I've done some of these mistakes myself, right? Because it needs practice, it needs trial and error, but also it needs someone to show you, well, maybe try this instead of this. So there's a lot of trial and error. And I just want you to cut time out of your equation and get sooner to success, get sooner to realizing your goals, either business goals or your personal goals on LinkedIn. So let's move on. What's the purpose of LinkedIn? I've said it before, and we've done a night talk, I think that was last week or 2 weeks ago. The purpose of LinkedIn is to do business. That's it. We want to do business on LinkedIn. We want to get contracts. We want to get in front of people who buy from us. And doing business is really the biggest criterion that, or the biggest, what's a good word? The biggest purpose of that network is to do business, right? And where else do you have CEOs of multi-billion-dollar companies being on LinkedIn? This is, for example, the CEO of HubSpot is on LinkedIn and quite active. The CEO of ClickUp is on LinkedIn and quite active. So if we want to sell into these accounts, we definitely want to embrace LinkedIn as the go-to place where we can do our prospecting and where we can generate leads on a consistent basis so that we get our bottom line right and get money in our pocket, commission in our pocket, and revenue out of our pipeline as quickly as possible. So in order to do that, our LinkedIn, our personal LinkedIn, needs to tick certain boxes. Let's look at these boxes. First of all, we need to have a stellar profile. And we've gone through that a while ago, how you can pimp your LinkedIn profile, even as an SDR, as a head of sales, or in the C-level. So that is definitely something that you want to get absolutely right. A stellar profile. We want to be perceived as a knowledgeable authority in whatever field we are in. That means that comes the content part of it in again. So we have the opportunity to put out value and valuable content. We want to be credible. We want to have high business ethics, and we want to have a non-traditional sales attitude. Because what we found over the past years, traditional sales tactics do not work on LinkedIn because it's a different dynamics there. But yet a lot of sales organizations and a lot of sales strategies are based on traditional sales tactics, traditional sales strategies. We're going to have a look at that in just a moment. And we're going to talk about how we want to avoid that and what we can do differently. That's why we have this night talk tonight. Also, on a personal note, we want to be resilient. We want to be persistent. We want to believe in ourselves, our product, but also our business. That's absolutely crucial. And we want to stay focused on our goals and relentless in pursuing our dream, whatever our goal is, whatever our objective is that we want to achieve on LinkedIn or in business and life in general. We need to be absolutely relentless and persistent and absolutely resilient. Always get up one more time than you fall down. And so here's what I meant by traditional sales tactics. Let's have a look at that. Typical things like, connect randomly, en masse, scrape data from profiles, and then do the cold calling, do the cold emailing, put them in unsolicited automated sequences. All of that does not work, but is still done to this day to an extent that is rather damaging to the brand than it helps your goals and your objectives on the money side, on the commission side, or on the revenue side. So what we want to do is be aware of these traditional sales tactics so that we can avoid them and not do them, right? So how do we do that? Here's something that is basically from our treasure chest. This is how we reach out and connect. That's our strategy, how we do it. And it's basically very simple. So what we do is we always network and connect three ways: upwards, sideways, and downwards. When we network up, it's into C-levels, executives, into investors, advisory board members, chairman, business owners, and so on. So they are slightly higher on the org chart than we are. Sideways, we can connect with head of sales, sales managers, sales enablement executives, even entrepreneurs. And downwards, we would connect with SDRs, BDRs, account executives, or just sales reps in general. So why do we have this threefold approach in our outreach and connection strategy? It was very simple. First of all, we have an inventory of different products. And I'm talking about Honeycomb and Sales Nation right now. So this is a live example of why we do it. And most likely you will have an inventory as well, or you will have more than one product, or more than one entry level into your products. So when we connect downwards to SDRs, BDRs, or AE, our account executives, our products range from roughly, they're free, most of them are free. It's valuable information that helps SDRs in their day-to-day tasks. And it goes to around 250 pounds one-off. When we connect sideways to sales managers and head of sales, that's where we talk about products that are ranged somewhere between 15K and 5K. And when we connect upwards to CEOs or owners or chief sales officers, advisory board members, and so on, we are talking about projects that are roughly in the range of 150,000 and 50,000. And we do that very purposefully, because the more people we get into our universe, the easier it is for us to have conversations that are meaningful to both sides, that add value to both sides. And I'm more than happy to have as many free resources for SDRs as possible, because I've been doing that for 25 years. When I started, I didn't have that many resources available, or that many videos that I could watch, or podcasts or whatever. And all of that is what we have. So our mission as a business is to really help SDRs become better every day, have better conversations, and doing things differently. And again, throughout all of these three stages, we want to facilitate a change and facilitate how sales is done, especially in B2B. On average, there is a difference in the acceptance rate. So you send out an invite, and then someone accepts it, and out of 100, how many accept your invite? That's the acceptance rate. And we see that there is a difference in acceptance rates depending on the level that you connect and invite into. So you could say really, really roughly, if you network down, you have probably 50%, maybe even 75% acceptance rate. If we connect on the same level as we are, is roughly 25%. You can tweak that and get it up to 35, maybe even 40%. On the C level, also depending on the sector that you are in, you will see a drop in the acceptance rate of your invite. It's roughly around 15%. It can go up to 20-25%, but that's the nature of the beast, right? So I'm just showing you that so that you are aware, and you can measure that against these acceptance rates, and if not to be disappointed, right? So you will never get to 100% acceptance rate, but strategically, you can take these rates and just put it in your strategy and say, okay, we want to connect with, let's say, 100 SDRs. We have a new campaign coming out. We have a new product coming out that's for free. We want to get 100 new SDRs in it, into the training program, or into whatever it is. So we probably will have to connect or send invites to 200 SDRs. And again, if you need a certain, or if you are looking to get a certain amount of CEOs or CFOs or CTOs in your network and connect with them, you have a rough number of how many invites you should be sending out, right? So back to the agenda. Let's start and dig right in. So we start with identifying and finding your ideal customer. If you haven't done that already, if you do not know your ICP, let's go through that really quickly. What we have done is we have created what we call a target account matrix, which consists of 10 characteristics and key areas that we want to identify our target accounts that we want to sell into, right? That's the companies that we want to work with, that we want to push our products and services into. Next, after that, after we have the company, of course, we need to know who's the decision maker in there. So we have a buyer matrix or an ICP. And since we know that we're in B2B, and especially in tech, you have on average 8 decision makers, we know in the back of our minds we need more than one, right? We need more than one matrix or ICP. But again, these are different criteria, different than we had with the company matrix, the target account matrix. But bringing all of that together, knowing which company we want to sell into or which companies we want to sell into, plus what do their decision maker look like or decision makers look like, then we have a winning formula of, and a better and a clear and a concise image of who our ICP is, what they do, what they think about, what their responsibilities are, and so on. So I'm just going through that very quickly. If you want any of these 2 templates and PDFs, just go to honeycombagency.co.uk/free. It's available for download absolutely for free. What we then want to do, once we have the ICPs on our table or in our CRM, while we're on LinkedIn, we want to find trigger events. We want to find things that tell us, okay, this company could be ready for us to approach them. And what are some typical trigger events that we are looking at? Well, some trigger events could be there are currently hiring on LinkedIn. They just had a funding round or a seed round. They raised X amount of money for their further growth. They posted something with keyword XYZ. They had a headcount growth of X%. They had a department headcount growth. In our case, the sales department headcount growth is a very interesting trigger for us. They had leadership changes and so on. So there's loads and loads of triggers that you can find if you know how to and also how to apply it on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, what we do once we have the ICP, the target accounts, and the trigger events ready, we just go to LinkedIn Sales Navigator and put all of these things into our search, and we just filter it down. Right, and these are screenshots from searches that we have done, but it can look completely different from your point of view and for your business. And then we get potential leads that we can then classify and categorize and put into lead lists, so we can then engage with them and put them into our prospecting strategy. Now, the famous and infamous 10-10-10 rule of activity. What is that? Actually, is really cool. So here's the 10-10-10 rule. What do I mean by 10-10-10? Quite easy. What we want to do on a daily basis is send out 10 invites. We want to send 10 DMs, and we want to post 10 comments. And again, as I said, per day, ideally. Why? Because then it becomes a perpetual machine. We send out 10 invites per day, 10 DMs per day, and post 10 comments. That means that we are active. So we have our sales activities every day, which is very, very structured and focused on how we can get the best results out of our LinkedIn prospecting. One of the biggest challenge that I found when you network and connect upwards, and I started as an SDR 25 years ago, just very junior, had no credibility, nothing like that. So what I found is when you network upwards, let's say you want to talk to a CTO, head of IT, or a chief sales officer, or even a CEO, or maybe even a business owner, you will notice that they are very inactive on LinkedIn. So there's little to no activity on LinkedIn. No postings. Maybe the last posting was 3 months ago, and there's little engagement possible. You can't really engage with them. And they check their DMs only now and then. So what does that mean? There are some strategies that tell you to get into the comments and connect with your prospects there and then take it offline. That's absolutely fine. But that doesn't work in this particular situation, especially when you move upwards, especially when you talk to even sideways, if you talk to the head of IT or IT team leader, for example, which could be on the same level as you are, or as your LinkedIn profile portrays. So what do you do then, right? So you can't really engage, you can't interact. You don't know if they read the DM now or in 4 weeks' time. Well, that's the challenge that we have. But it's not a challenge that is impossible. On the contrary, it's a great challenge to have. Always remember that our goal here is to get a foot in the door, to get them to accept our invite. We want nothing more than that, right? That's why the acceptance rates vary so much, because CEOs get a lot of invites, and further down you go on the org chart, a little less and fewer invites. So, but we want to get a foot in the door. Even if they are not very active on LinkedIn, we know that if we can initiate a conversation, they either give us 5 minutes of their own time, or they say, well, why don't you talk to XYZ in my organization? So it's just about getting the foot in the door and trying to start and initiate a conversation. And that's what I mean by going from cold call to warm outreach. And once we get over that hurdle of getting our invite accepted, that's half the battle won, right? It absolutely is, right? I know that a lot of sales reps think, oh, that's like the easy part, or that's just the first step into it. Yeah, of course it's the first step, but it's the major step. And I'll explain to you why this is so important. Why once they accept your invite, it's like open the floodgates for you. Okay, let's have a look at that. Let's remember that the purpose of LinkedIn is to do business. It's not to watch, I don't know, cats and videos or funny memes. Now you go to TikTok on that, you go to Instagram, you go on Facebook or Snapchat for all the entertainment stuff. But LinkedIn is the biggest professional network. I am on LinkedIn because I want to do business. I want to get, as it says here, the hurdle is to get the foot in the door and accept our invite, but also to get in front of the right people. That's how I see it. Everybody who is on LinkedIn by default is open for business, is open for doing business with you. The biggest hurdle is just to get the foot in the door and get our invite accepted by whoever we are targeting, by whoever we want to initiate the conversation. And the ultimate goal at this stage is simply to initiate a conversation. But in order to do that, they need to accept our invite. Now, I talked a lot about pimping your profile and having a stellar LinkedIn profile and how absolutely crucial that is. And we've got loads of videos on there on our YouTube channel of how maybe you're an SDR or a sales rep, maybe an entrepreneur, of how you can do that. So it doesn't scream sales and more people will accept your invite. So go on YouTube and check out the videos. That's that. Here's what we need to think about. There are different phases. One is before we send the invite. And I repeat myself, it's all about having a great, stellar profile. Number two, we need to have our specific ICP matrix in place, ideal customer profile and the target accounts. And also we want to refine our value proposition. If we're just a commodity and everybody else is doing what we are doing, then, why would we be in business? Why would we even consider connecting with these people if we don't bring something special to the table? That's before the invite. So we need to do our homework before we are allowed to send the invite. In the invite, what we found works best is to never add a note. You know that when you go to someone's profile, you can connect with them and then you can, I think, personalize your invite and add a note. Don't do that. We've run the experiments. It does not do any good. It does not increase your acceptance rate. On the contrary, what we found is that a note accompanying your invite can potentially damage your success rate. If you screw it up in the note, then the chances of being accepted are very, very low. So what we always say to our sales team and what I'm really, really passionate about is just send the invite. As long as you have a stellar profile, and most of them will visit your profile, as long that is absolutely great and spot on, you have a great chance of them accepting your invite. So don't fall into the trap to trying to be clever with the note. Just leave it. Then after the invite is accepted, we have a rule, and that says you're allowed only one thank you DM, but it's absolutely not necessary, right? So, and what we do when someone accepts our invite is simply send a DM that says, "Good to connect," thumbs up. Or in my case, I have the little devil's heavy metal horn. That's my favorite emoji. So if you see me on LinkedIn, you see loads of these kind of metal signs. So thank you, DM. That's it. And we don't do any pitches, right? Just remember that once they accept our invite, that's the best thing that could have happened. And that is our goal, checkbox ticked right there. So we don't want to be desperate. We don't want to be salesy. We don't want to be pushy. Of course, we want to be timely, but not in a salesy way. And I'll explain in a moment what I mean by that. And then, of course, we have the follow-up. So we have the connection, we have the invite, and then we have follow-up opportunities. We can do that via phone, via email, or DM. What we found is the DM on LinkedIn or an email is less intrusive than the phone because, again, it's an unsolicited call. Depending on who you're calling on, you might get diverted to a gatekeeper, and it's just a waste of your time. And I don't want you to waste time. And also, we want to follow up with a value proposition question. And I'm going to show you exactly how we do that in a few seconds. So how do we go from cold to warm prospecting now? There's a couple of things that we realize happens in the background with our prospect. Number one, the prospect agreed to accept your invite. That alone makes it a warm contact, right? Also, that tells us that the prospect wants to learn more. Why else would they accept your invite? Again, LinkedIn is a business platform. We're all on LinkedIn to do business, right? So if your profile is interesting enough and intriguing enough for a CEO to say, let's see, you've won already. You've won already. Now, a lot of sales strategies will then say, go pitch a product. We don't do that, right? We respect the prospect that they want to learn more about what it is that we do and about us. So the prospect invites you to initiate a conversation by accepting your invite, and that is absolutely great. And the prospect also on LinkedIn gives you different ways to get in touch. As I said, DM, email, or phone. Where does the email and the phone come in? Well, everybody needs to add their email when signing up to LinkedIn. And in most cases, here's a cheeky little trick. In most cases, people sign up with their personal email address. Not always, but in a lot of cases, it's the personal Gmail or Hotmail or iCloud or whatever it is. So you have their personal email address. That is a sign of huge respect. And we don't want to be disrespectful by applying traditional sales tactics, scraping all of that data and sending them into an automated sequence. We don't want to do that. We want to set ourselves apart from what everybody else is doing. That's part of the probing sales framework. The probing sales framework is a USP in itself by having and leading conversations, sales conversations, in such a way that sets you apart from your competitor and what everybody else is doing, right? So we can, getting in touch with a prospect, DM, email, or phone. Phone, in that case, if you pick up the phone and call them, could be considered a cold call because they don't expect your call. Also, we could waste a lot of time until they finally pick up. But if they pick up, the best thing to say is, John, thank you very much. We just connected on LinkedIn. I thought I'd just give you a quick call, 5 minutes. Joseph, yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. Something like that, right? So that's the major difference. They invited us to initiate a meaningful conversation, I should say. So we don't want to be disrespectful to our prospects. And I know a lot of sales strategies, especially when you're scaling it up, do not respect these little things. But especially if you're in a market where your service or your product could be considered a commodity, the touch points that you have with a potential customer reflects on the brand, right? It's a subtle thing, but how you go about your prospecting will give your brand either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And that helps us eventually get more money in our pockets from our commissions because we close more deals and have more deals in the pipeline. And of those deals that we have in the pipeline, we can close more and faster by utilizing the probing sales framework. Ain't that a beauty? Now, the last point, how? As I said, the data is freely available on their profile. We just don't want to be disrespectful to just scrape it and cold call them or sending them unsolicited messages. So the best thing for us to do is to stay on the platform where they have given us permission to initiate the conversation. And from all the experiments that we ran, from all the campaigns that we've ran and we are still running, we've seen that a DM outperforms email in that situation by far. If you've already had a lot of contacts and built a good relationship with your prospect, this number that you see right now might change. You might even go to sending them a text message or a WhatsApp or a Telegram or whatever it is. But at the position, at the situation, at the point where we are right now, they accepted our invite, and now it's up to us to make the next step and initiate a conversation. We see a DM on LinkedIn gets a great response because they're waiting for us to open our mouths. They just don't wait for us to be salesy and pitch slap them. It's a difficult word in English, but that's what I mean by being respectful. All these CEOs, everybody that I talked to over the past 25 years, and especially since the advent of LinkedIn, they can smell salespeople from miles away. We just need to be a little bit more understanding, a little bit cleverer in our approach. And again, that's our USP. We just want to get the foot in the door and then have a conversation. The last point in our agenda tonight is what we call a value proposition question. I've done some TikToks, I've done some 1 or 2 videos on YouTube about what is a value proposition question and how it can help you close more deals, get more money in the pocket, get more commission in the pocket, or increase and improve your bottom line results in your sales pipeline. So let's have a look at that. How can that help us? How can we now take the first step and initiate a conversation by simply asking in one DM a value proposition question? I have some examples and templates for you in just a second. And as I said, these are all tried and tested, right? So nothing that I tell you ever is anything that I haven't tested myself, that we haven't tested with Honeycomb, that we haven't tested with Sales Nation, and even A2I Academy, which is our education and tutoring service platform. We tested all of that, every single thing. So let's dig right in. As I said, we have kind of a rule that we are allowed to send one thank you DM after they accepted our invite. There's not a prerequisite. We don't have to do it. But sometimes we see, it's a great gesture. We have great response rates on the thank you. If we leave it without pitching anything, if we really leave it like that, and as I said earlier, sometimes I just say great to connect and then this little emoji, great to connect. And most of the time they say likewise or a thumbs up back. And that's it. You just want them to commit to engage with you. Just a little commitment here, right? And that's it. No, we don't bother them. One of the thank you DMs that you can also do is, it depends on your trigger event, but something that we did in the past was great to connect with you, John. Congrats on the last funding round. If it is true, again, back to Sales Navigator, we can easily filter our prospects for funding in the last 12 months. So we say that when it's true. Congrats on the last funding round. I add something like, love seeing great companies gaining traction and expanding. I'm rooting for you from Manchester, UK. And that's it. It basically is all about them. It's not about me. So, it's all about them. What would a value proposition question look like? And let me just check how many slides I still have. I think I added that. I think I did. A value proposition question would be something like, would it make sense to you having us show your sales reps how they can close more leads in their existing sales pipeline in Q3? And again, it's not pitching. It's really just a question that incorporates a value proposition, that also incorporates a pain point, and it's just a straightforward question. And when you are prospecting on LinkedIn, you will find that, let's put it this way. From our experiments, we know that people respect and appreciate a straightforward approach. If you have something to say, just say it. And I know that there are a lot of templates out there that say, okay, it has to be personal. Oh, I see you're a big Jets fan, or I see you're a snooker fan, and then start that. And then, oh, we help businesses, blah, blah, blah. I've seen you had a funding round, blah, 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 blah. And I don't know where all of that is coming from, where these templates come from, but please don't use them, right? What we found is it is very, very much appreciated to just get straight to the point. One other question that I also ask is, are you doing anything around sales training in Q3? Because we're a sales training provider with a twist, because we have our own framework that we developed, so we do things differently than other sales trainers. But basically, I'm asking, are you doing anything around it? Or is there any reason why you wouldn't do anything around it? Things like that get straight to the point, but is not salesy. It's not pitchy, right? In fact, that question that you see right there, it's about them. It's about their pain points. We know that sales reps won't close all of the leads they could be closing. Otherwise, they'd hit their targets every single week, every single time, every single month and quarter. But that isn't the case. Otherwise, everybody would be happy clappy. So we know the pain point, and we can bring such a pain point into the value proposition question as well, and just be absolutely straightforward. Don't beat around the bush, right? It's really straightforward. Here's what we do. Do you need it? Yes or no? If I say now, want to buy fish, those of you who know, but I'm not saying it. But a straightforward approach gets you faster to a yes or a no. And I love no's, because you have to go through a lot of no's to get to that one yes. So I'd rather have 35 people tell me, nope, I'm not interested, and then get to the 36th and say, yeah, we were thinking about that. Why are you different? What's the twist here? Why is it unconventional sales training? So we want to get through the no's as quickly as possible. We can eliminate the no's as much as we can with the trigger events, with the ICP matrix that we've done earlier on. So once we get that absolutely concise and precise, that helps us eventually with the prospecting. I've got a couple of more examples here. Let me just go through that. Another idea that we found really, really interesting, that gets a great response, is to ask for help. And there are three things that you can ask. Number one, can you help me? Number two, who do you know who can help me? And number three, how can I help you? Reciprocity. Okay. So one of the things that we do with an ask message has nothing to do with a value proposition question. It's really just simply asking for help. And a lot of people have a lot of difficulties asking for help. I don't know why. Maybe it's the way we brought up. I know my parents said, don't bother anyone, don't ask. Don't do that. So maybe that's why we as an adults are having troubles with that. But here's a message that we can really put out there and ask them. Hi Steve. I was wondering if you could help out. The new semester at our sales academy starts on July the 1st. Would you mind spreading the word and nudging sales teams our way that want to crush their targets in Q3? No hard feelings if you don't. I'm asking for help. I tell Steve a little bit about what it is that we're doing right now. It can be, I don't know, it can be a webinar, it can be a semester at a sales academy. And this is a live example, by the way. So we did that in July 1st, it starts. It can be anything, can be a new product, can be a new service, can be really anything. And just ask for help. Do you know anyone who needs that? I really appreciate if you could send them my way. And also no hard feelings if you don't. Because I wouldn't mind if someone asked me that. I would say, okay, let me have a think about it. But I'm maybe not. That's how I would react, depending on what it is that I'm being asked for. But I think human beings, by default, like being asked for help, and I also think that most human beings love to help. If it's in their capacity, it doesn't, if it's not no big thing, but just to help spread the word. Do you know any sales teams? Do you know any business owner who wants to, let's say, double their revenue in Q3? Do you know any businesses that have capacity to close more leads? I really appreciate if you could send them my way. No hard feelings if you don't. I think that's a very subtle and a very soft ask. And again, we're on LinkedIn to do business. And if it's not our business that needs to do more revenue, then maybe someone in our inner circle, someone in our business group, in our networking group, they might be thinking about sales training or whatever it is that you provide, that you sell. So we can ask that as well. So there are different ways how you can utilize your network, and also how you can utilize new prospects. One thing that I found works absolutely great is to invite them to your podcast and turn that opportunity into a discussion about their pain points. Like, for example, the head of IT, the head of, let's say, digital transformation at, I don't know, Tesco. They need to do a lot of things in the background with technology, upgrade technology. And if you have a podcast covering all of that, you could just send them an invite and say, I really like what you do at Tesco in terms of the digital transformation. Do you have 10 minutes, 15 minutes to, go on our podcast and talk about that? That can work. Sometimes in these big corporations, they need approvals and stuff like that. But you just try and test it, ask for help. And especially with the podcast, especially engaging with someone and asking them about what it is that they know, about their knowledge, how did they go about their challenges. That's a great way to get, especially if it's a target account that you want to get a foot in the door. So that could be another one. Again, the ask message that I have here, I would send that to my existing network of people that are connected with me on LinkedIn. Not necessarily to new connections, but I think that is a better message to people who already know who you are and don't mind giving you a referral. But again, try campaigns, an A/B campaign, and see what works best. Let me just see if we have another example here. I think we do. The bottom line is, number one, let's not overthink things. It's really, really simple, right? Just get back to basic human psychology, relationship building. How do you want to be treated from someone else? Then don't pitch slap. Don't be pitchy. Don't be salesy. Be more interested interested than interesting. Don't harass them. Don't put them into any sequence that is longer than 2 touch points, right? And that's all right. It's like maybe one DM, if they don't react, one email or another DM, something like that. But don't make it any longer than 2. If they don't reply, leave it, right? Leave it for the time being. If there's no reply after, let's say, I don't know, 7 days or 14 days or 1 month, just leave it for the next campaign. Sometimes it's just not the right timing. Sometimes they just don't want to reply. Sometimes they haven't seen it. They haven't logged into LinkedIn for 3 months. And then you want to move it to email. Again, that turns into a cold email then, because we are moving away from the platform that they gave us access to their profile. So we're moving that away. That makes it about us and not them. So let's not do that. And also reach out to prospects only once every 2 or 3 months with a very specific ask or a VPQ, so value proposition question. Don't overload them. I know that a lot of sales organizations and sales reps are pressured into KPIs, and let's get as many prospects as possible. Let's book as many meetings as possible. My mission is to change that mindset, to show how sales can be done in this modern age with technology, how it can be done differently than 10, 20, 30 years ago. So we want to be respectful, and I guarantee you, if you stick to these things, you will get results. You just need to be persistent. Persistent. And always remember that on the other side, there's a human being. That everybody on LinkedIn is a human being, minus the bots. But let's not talk about bots. But every connection that you make, every invite of yours that is accepted was accepted by a human being. So let's be respectful. Remind ourselves that, yes, we are there to do business. And if we approach it in an ethical way, in a way that is beneficial to both sides, then we're in a good position to do business. They will be intrigued by what it is that you do. If you get your messaging right, if you get your outreach right, if you get the DM right, and again, it can be just one question. It can be just an ask for help. Listen, we have this or that coming up. Do you know someone who might be interested in that? Could you send them our way? Could be like that. Could be as easy as that, right? But if we go beyond the traditional sales, if we go beyond the cold calling and the cold outreach and all of that stuff that is just annoying for everybody. It's annoying to the buyers, it's annoying to the prospects, it's annoying to the sales reps, it's annoying to the sales managers, and it's annoying to the CEOs because results are just not there. So we need to think differently to get different results. At least we want to try something new. I hope you do. Otherwise, this wouldn't be our time together here tonight. Let me just check what we do right now. So that's it for now. If you need help with implementing any of that, or have you any questions about anything what we discussed right now, just send me a DM or email me at jr@honeycombagency.co.uk. Any questions, anything that you need to know, or anything that you want to know about our services and what we do differently than any other sales training provider out there, shoot me an